All right. Hello, good morning, good evening, and good night. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic because today, guys, we have so much to talk about. I'm just going to break the news right here. I was going to make a video initially on YMAX today and just talking about YMAX and how we're approaching market highs right now and what you guys should do with your position. But instead, what I have to do is I have to make a video on all these Yieldmax funds because they're paying out some insane dividends, starting with MSTY. Then we have a new Yieldmax ETF, which is SMCY, which I want to show you the distributions. I want to also talk about YMAG. What happened to YMAG's distribution? If you hold YMAG, you're like, why am I getting 5 cents? And I'm wondering that question too, so we're going to go over that. And then as well, TSLY having a breakout day. So we are all over the market. It's a very exciting day if you are a Yieldmax investor. There's a lot of things going around, and I want to touch and talk about each one here. So if that does sound good, we're currently up to 5,852 subscribers, 393 subscribers in the past 28 days. Thank you to everyone who subscribed, and let's first of all get into this video. Cool. First stock I want to talk about is MSTY. MSTY is the Yieldmax version for MSTR, currently paying probably the highest Yieldmax dividend at 178%. That's huge. Let's just look at the dividend that they paid out. Or are going to pay out. $4.19, and this was already actually factored into the share price. You could see here in the past 5 days, the share price has already factored that dividend. It factored that in today, and it's dropped, and the stock is currently back up to 4.79%. Now, if you just look at this, for example, 4.79%, you look at the total gain for today, $1.27. That means that they're paying out roughly about a 20% dividend every single month. MSTY is paying out a 20% dividend every single month. Of course, they're paying out 178% every single year. So 20% seems pretty natural. Why is this? MicroStrategies in the past 6 months is up 70%. Let's see, MSTY, it's actually down 16%. So we do see that these huge dividends, of course, they're eating into the share price. You can't pay out 178, almost 200% in terms of dividends and not see some share price erosion unless you see extreme growth in the underlying. Sure, 70% is extreme, but when we're looking at 178%, what you could do is you could divide this by 2. 178% divided by 2, which is roughly 90%. 90% plus negative 16, it's hovering about that 70% return marker. But why is this? It's because in the past year, we've seen 500% growth in terms of the underlying, which is MSTR. I actually remember MSTR when it was a $25 billion market cap company. It's since doubled since then. And MSTR was actually trading at a stock valuation of about $1,000, over $1,000. I'm pretty sure it was up to $1,700 at some point. So they did some kind of reverse stock split, it looks like here. Or maybe not a reverse. Maybe they just did a stock split because their share price was increasing to such high levels. You can even see here up 8% on the day. And in the past 1 year, just look at this trajectory. They started at roughly about, adjusted for the split, $64. They worked their way all the way up here, which was a high, which is where we were seeing a lot of the highs in MSTY, like this one right here. They had this high roughly about 7 months ago. They kind of trickled, were continuing to pay huge dividends, and then are currently at their highest valuation ever, $230 adjusted. And MSTY currently paying some of the highest dividends they've ever paid. So it looks like this $4.19 dividends already put in here. And what I've done, just to kind of make it interesting, is we can do a little calculation of MSTY and how much exactly it's paid out in dividends over the course of its Yieldmax kind of journey or inception. Now, all Yieldmax ETFs start at $20 except for this new one, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But what I want to talk about here is 27.74%. If you were just looking off of the capital return, you're looking at 27.65, let's say, divided by 20. You're looking at a 38% return right there. Well, now let's calculate all these dividends, and I made it super fast for you guys, so there's going to be no delay. Boom. $20 exactly. $20 exactly is what the dividends are for MSTY. So when we add these two together, we're going 47.65 because $20 is very simple to add, and we're going to divide that by the initial starting valuation of $20. And we have to use the calculator for this one. So we're going to go boom, boom. So you're looking at subtract 1 equals 2.3, subtract 1, 138%. And let's see, you know what, I'm not even gonna, okay, you know what, now that I'm here, I'm gonna throw it into percent super quick. 138% return for MSTY with the share price and the dividends included. And this is only within 6 months, because MSTY has only really been out for about 6 to 8 months, something about there. So that is fantastic. That is our first stock. MSTY is absolutely going crazy, and it continues to go crazy and continues to pay out these huge dividends. As people have mentioned, they are very happy holding their MSTY shares. A lot of love for MSTY. Okay, we're going to go back on here because we got a lot more to talk about. SMCY. This is a new Yieldmax ETF going off the stock SMCI. What is SMCI? It is a super microcomputer Inc. I'm not even sure what this is. A $27 billion market cap company. And why did Yieldmax get into this? And why is their starting price about $50? I'm going to answer these questions, okay? So look, the reason why Yieldmax went into it, you could just look at the 5-year chart. This is why. They've seen extreme volatility within super microcomputers. Wherever Yieldmax is looking to kind of create a Yieldmax ETF, they want to see volatility, because volatility is going to bring these huge distributions. They obviously seen this huge spike from, it looks like $47 all the way up to $120, which is roughly about a 250% gain in SMCI. And then when did they start this Yieldmax ETF? They actually started it about right down here. So they waited until they felt that price had achieved kind of the original value, and then they could jump in with their Yieldmax ETF and take advantage of the upside, because they're going bullish on Super Micro Computers Inc. Now, what I want to show you here is just kind of the inception date. If I go to all here, it says September, so I'm going to go back as far as possible. We look here, it says September 12th. Cool. What is September 12th for this stock? We'll go here. This is roughly about September 12th. Right here. Boom. Where the share price was trickling about $42. So you could see here, even though that it looks like, okay, they've had a 38% decline in SMCI over the past 6 months. Well, Yieldmax tried to time it as best as possible, and they're actually up on a stock that's down 38% over the past 6 months, because they've only been in it for about 2 months. They started at a $50 valuation for the Yieldmax ETF. And why did they do this? They simply did this to avoid the TSLY situation of a stock split, because TSLY, if we go back all the way, TSLY did not start at a $40 stock. It started at a $20 stock. But because of the stock split and because of the deterrence of a stock split on these high yield ETFs, they started at a much higher valuation. They started at $50, so it would give them hopefully enough time not to have a stock split. But what is the outcome of this? The outcome of a $50 Yieldmax ETF is huge dividends once again, as you guessed it. If I go to the top here, SMCY paying out the biggest Yieldmax dividend probably ever seen, $5.35. In relation, MSTY definitely pays out the biggest dividends. Pardon me. MSTY definitely paying out the biggest dividends, starting at a $20 valuation for a Yieldmax ETF. But because MSCY kind of had a little cheat here, starting at $50, it has paid out the biggest Yieldmax dividend in terms of dollar value, not in terms of percent value. So that's another one to keep in mind. Now we're kind of moving along here. We're skipping through YMAX, even though this is one that we talked about a lot. YMAX is doing very well on the day at 1%. There's some Yieldmax ETFs that are absolutely taken off today, 10%. See MSTY, 4%. Even we have SMCY, very new Yieldmax ETF. I'm curious to see if YMAX is actually invested or has this within their kind of portfolio, because it's up 3.37%. But today we'll also talk about TSLY, up 10%. And TSLY, I only am really here to mention it because you see this huge jump here. TSLY, obviously Tesla's their underlying. It's doing very well today. It's very volatile. Tesla's up about 17%. TSLY is only up about 10%. So that kind of tells you the mismatch between what TSLY is able to appreciate, and then what Tesla is able to appreciate. So there's a bit of a discrepancy there. And of course, last but not least, well, actually in this case it is the least, we're talking about YMAG. YMAG paying out a 5-cent dividend. What's going on here? We look at YMAX. YMAX paying out a 2.22% dividend. That's a fantastic dividend for YMAX. The last dividend for YMAX came in at $17.47. I remember that off by heart because, of course, I hold so many shares of YMAX. But YMAG paying a 5-cent dividend, I'm really not sure what's going on here. I haven't heard any news of that. If I do look over the kind of price chart of YMAG over the past, we'll say past week or past month, look, past 5 days, it's really not moved that much. That could be why when we look at YMAX, for example, look over the past couple of days, you can see a pretty big increase here from, it looks like $17.37 all the way up to $7.59, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're talking about 2-3% in a week, that translates to a good Yieldmax dividend. But when we're looking at YMAG, for example, and we see here it pretty much started the week at about 1875, kind of grew a little bit up to 1880, but really, if we're looking at a week-to-week basis, you started the week here at 1875, and it looks like about a week later, we're currently trading at about 1875, a couple cents higher than what we started with, which is potentially why we're paying this small dividend. Is this a real downside? No. Look, you are receiving less income, but YMAX has definitely taken more out of the share price with a 20-cent drop. Sure, you're only getting this 5% drop. You'd like to see more, but as YMAG increases, you should hopefully see the dividends increase. I do think this is just a little blip in YMAG. I don't think this is anything here to stay. Of course, we'll see by next week. Only wait a week and we'll see. But I really just think this is a blip in YMAG. And I think if you are a YMAG investor, you don't have anything to worry about this. Of course, if I seen this in YMAX, it's different saying this for something that I hold so many shares in. If I seen this in YMAX, I'd be a little bit annoyed too. I'd be like, what's going on? Why am I only getting 5 cents? But it's okay. We'll wait till next week, and I'm pretty sure this should clear up by then. Hopefully, everything's going to be okay. I think everything will be okay. Personally, I just see a lot less volatility here within the past couple of days, which is likely what translated to this very low YMAG dividend. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is just a little recap of what's going on. MSTY, since inception, sure, it has 178% dividend yield. That's not always the case, though, because you see here it produced a return of 138% when factoring in initial share price, and then as well all the dividends that were paid out for MSTY. As well, we have a new Yieldmax ETF, which is SMCY, which is super microcomputers. Preying off of the volatility of the stock, Yieldmax has entered in at a $50 share price, which is a lot higher. It's really 2.5 times higher than the normal kind of starting valuation for a Yieldmax ETF of $20. Maybe we will look to see a $50 Yieldmax ETF in the future for any new Yieldmax inceptions. As well, we talked a little bit about the dividends paid out from both YMAG and YMAX. How YMAX actually came in very strong. YMAG came extremely below, but it should recover within the next couple of weeks as more volatility comes to the stock. And of course, YMAG holds Tesla, holds TSLY. So a 10.3% move is definitely going to help to bring a bigger dividend to YMAG. And then as well, that is all we talked about. So that is all we're going to talk about. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, we're up to 5,852 subscribers. Please do remember to subscribe. This is a great video, lots action-packed, and I hope we can bring you some more action-packed videos and some more videos coming in the future. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you know what to do, and have a great day, guys. Take care.